welcome wherever you are and whenever you're watching this. We were talking a lot last week about what I want and what I need. And I think they are good themes to always have around, actually, to continue to percolate through your thoughts. Because they're not always the same thing. They sometimes are, but the awareness is what matters. And that thing of pushing at the edges, pushing at the edges does not mean pushing beyond the edge. So pushing at the edges is really tricky to calibrate, because the days that you are really fatiguey, that's my word for it, fatiguey, floppy, and I've had quite a few of those recently, pushing at the edges should not be a thing. They are not days to push at the edge. Your edge pushing is calibrated so you join this from bed and visualize. That is you pushing at the edge. Exactly. Yeah. So realizing where your edge is important in relation to what you want and need. And kind of, we always want to push at the edge in the way that's calibrated. That's the key thing, when people have support with health challenges and you get the information on pacing, and it doesn't really usually take into account the variability of the edge and the need for fine-tuning calibration. And if you don't calibrate, you do the boom and bust thing, or if you don't know that language, you do the try really hard and then go bang. And we've all been there. So gently pushing at the edge and working out where your edge is. So give yourself a moment to arrive this morning in yourself as a whole being. And I did a post yesterday. I wrote a mini article yesterday on the power of a sigh, and I had a little sigh. We use the sigh in centering often, that last bit. Giving a little extra squeeze of parasympathetic nervous system activity. And perhaps you can visualize that nourishment and care and kindness spreading through your body, yourself, your being. What do you want and need, and where is the edge you need to be aware of today? Linger there a little longer. And when you think, oh, I think it's time we moved on, that's when you can linger a moment longer again. And then either bring a little bit of movement, and that movement might be small, it might be micro, it might be visualized. And when I say visualized, imagine in your head and feel it, that you're moving. Maybe some gentle circles, it doesn't matter what position you're in, any direction, a gentle slow motion shimmy. Maybe have a little gentle wiggle around your head and neck. And it can be as tiny and micro, an intimation, as my husband says, of a wiggle or a shimmy. And if you're so inclined, you can lift the arms with the breath, but you can visualize that too. So as you breathe in, let the breath lift the arms. And they might come up a little bit. They might come all the way up. Oh, and then let them come down. And if you've got bigger movements, let your whole body open and expand and soften and close. And otherwise, visualize that. or have the micro version. And pause. Might take some side bends, actual, micro, or visualized. A micro side bend, you might inhale, lift one shoulder so there's a little bit of opening at the side of the body, and come back down. Bigger, you might lift the arm. Bigger still, you might take the arm over, or you might visualize it. So micro, I'm doing this so I do the same on both sides. Bigger or all the way over. And then flow a little in your mind, through your body, side to side, and come to rest. Perhaps take a gentle twist. Again, whether you're lying down, seated, you can gently move side to side, or let your knees drop side to side, or just turn your head side to side, or visualize. And come to rest. And pause and notice even those small movements. If that is enough, do no more. If visualizing that is enough, do no more. Otherwise, you can open the heart, so bringing the arms up into cactus. And if you're lying flat, you could always put your arms either side. If that's comfortable, that's it, that's perfect. Inhaling and opening the heart, or visualizing. You're not actually opening the heart, but imagine it, opening the heart, pouring of love, letting it in as well as out, softening. And you can incorporate a bit of cat-cow here. You don't have to take your arms up if that feels uncomfortable. They can go to the sides or rest. And let that go. Let's not forget the legs. So if you're seated, you might take a little bit of a windshield wiper, or lying down, side to side, just to bring that movement through the hip joints, or visualize. And then perhaps take a bit of circle at one leg, then the other. You can't do it wrong, there's no right way. Swap sides if you're doing one side then the other. I see a message pop up on my phone and I can't read it from here, and I think, oh no, it's not working in the group. Who knows? Who knows? Let it go. Helen, I'm talking to myself. Let it go. I normally stick my phone on airplane mode, but it's Monday morning and the brain was not fully engaged. And the practice brings the engagement. And then pause. And notice. Another sigh. Don't be afraid to experiment with sighing, especially if you're fatiguey, floppy, tired, or stressed, wired, and overworked. So we've just described most of the population in one form or another. Okay, we're going to come up to standing, or you can do this lying flat. So either way, or in a chair, as ever, always. Having a little drink of tea on the way up. I stole my husband's tea, but that's okay. So notice first. Have a little wiggle and a shimmy, and notice how it feels standing intentionally. Have a scan through up from the toes up through the body. How am I now after that bit of movement? And we're going to come into a warrior two. So I better move those so I don't slip. Take the feet out. You can do this lying flat, no problem. And in a chair. Then turning toes to the short edge of the mat with one foot, bringing the toes in slightly. And the hips are kind of forward. Don't worry about it. Take a hug. I'm going to take that scarf off in case the audio is getting some interference. And when you're ready, sweep the arms out and bend into that knee. Same seated, one knee bent, one leg out. Same lying down. You can have just one knee bent. It doesn't matter what direction it's facing. Oh, and feeling into the strength of your warrior. Coming back to a hug. Bit of a top up nourishment nurture. And out to warrior 3. Warrior 2 rather. One more hug. And back out. Lovely. And if you want to stay in a hug, stay in a hug. We're going to move into triangle. You can do this whatever position you're in. So the direction your knees bend, shift the upper body that way a little. Shift it that way. Straighten that bent knee and turn the arms. So if you're lying down, straight legs, body slightly to one side, one arm up, one arm down. Generously bend the knee, engage that core and come back. Warrior 2, and let it go. Ooh, have a little wiggle. Pause, notice. Some of us pushing that edge this morning in all of its forms. The size of the movement is not related to the size of the push. It might be for you, not across the comparisons. Swap sides. So, little short words are all muddly. Toes out towards the short edge, toes in a little bit, hips that way, and take a hug. Being careful not to squish the microphone. And sweep out, bending that knee. Feeling into that strength. Come back to the hug. Back to warrior 2. Back to the hug. You can stay in the hug, you know. Back to warrior 2. And we're going to have one more hug. Back to the hug. An extra squeeze. Back out to warrior 2 and then into triangle. So shift, straighten, and turn. Oh, you can feel the pull in different places. Pause a moment, linger, then generously bend the knee. Keep that core engaged, rise back up, and let it go. Step back in, have a wiggle, and notice. Coming down to the mat, or to your chair, or to the bed, bringing knees to chest. Have a little rock side to side. And just notice how that feels. It is time for a squishy twist. So, you know your twist of choice. If you are lying down like me with a bolster is, or cushion or pillow or anything, rolled up dressing gown, between the knees and thighs is a really nice way to deepen and squish up the twist. So let your whole body drop to one side. If you're seated, let the knees move over to one side. And then turn the upper body to the opposite side. If you're lying down, let that upper body roll out. Extend out the arms. And squish into the twist. Linger here. And just when you think you should be moving, linger longer. When we do our restorative practices, we linger here for ages. You can stay there or bring that top shoulder back in, back over to one side, come back to center, knees back into the chest with your cushion, or if you're seated, back to center, and then drop the knees over to the other side. And if you're lying down, let the whole body move over and unfurl that body. Let the shoulder either rest back on a cushion or down to the mat and squish into the twist. Sinking, softening. Lingering a little bit longer. And either stay there or let that shoulder come back across. Bring the knees back to center. Perhaps have a hug of the knees. Either if you're in a chair, you can bend over your knees or bring your knees up. And if you're lying down, you can bring them into your chest and have an intentional hug. They might not be close, it doesn't matter where they are. And then stretching out the legs for relaxation. So you might have a bolster under your knees into a supported Shavasana. You might have no bolster, or my favorite, you might have a reclined butterfly. So soles of the feet together, let the knees drop out, but supported by the bolster. Arms down by your side or on your belly. And soften. I'm going to sit up, but I'd like you to stay in the position that is of most comfort and relaxation, whatever it looks like. Somebody somewhere will be sitting against a tree, I've no doubt. Perhaps pull a blanket over you if you're cool. And allowing your awareness to drift through the body. Noticing the space just above the top of the head. As though you can have a hand there and could feel the warmth from your head, the energy from your body. Noticing the skin on the top of the head. And then noticing, imagining, visualizing being the whole head. Awareness of the eyes, the cheeks, the lips, the ears, the chin, the tip of the nose. Let that awareness trickle down, drift into the neck. We skip the neck a bit. So be the neck. Imagine, visualize. Be the neck. Noticing the skin, the muscles, the bones in the cervical spine. And then let that awareness drop down into the shoulders. Perhaps you can let go of a little extra tension as your awareness lands there. The strong shoulder joints with an array of muscles wrapped around, protecting the bones. Awareness down through the arms, through the upper arm, the lower arm, the hands, and becoming, visualizing, being the tips of the fingers. Skin on the tips. The padded muscly area under the skin and the tiny bones making the tips of each finger and each thumb. Awareness back up the arms and into the chest, perhaps beginning with the vertebra, the thoracic vertebra, the spine, the back of the chest, being the vertebra, imagining the vertebra, visualizing, and the ribs that come from the back of the spine arching round protectively, meeting at the front at the sternum, containing, protecting, looking after the lungs and the heart. Perhaps following the spine down to the lower spine, the lumbar spine and the sacrum. The lumbar spine at the back of the stomach, the belly, and visualizing the muscles covering the belly, protecting all the digestive organs and the reproductive organs in the pelvis, and letting your awareness land in the bony pelvis. Be the pelvis. Strong, protective. Through the pelvic floor and into the hip joints. Being the hip joints. Strong, strong ball and socket joint. Big muscles, big ligaments, lots of protection. The power of walking coming from the hip joints. And awareness moving down through the upper legs, through the lower legs, through the feet and to the toe tips, the tips of each toe, skin, the padded of muscles, the little bones inside. An awareness of your whole being, sensing expansion, breathing in, and softening, breathing out with a sigh. And linger here in the whole body as a whole body. A moment longer. And have a little wiggle, fingers and toes, arms and legs, slow motion shimmy, maybe a stretch. What intention might you take into your day? Perhaps awareness of the edge, so you can calibrate the pushing against the edge with care. Thank you for joining us. Some of us will be in the Zoom room for Mindful Monday at 11. Feel free to join. And otherwise, I'll see you Wednesday at 8:30.